We must fight corruption, we must fight fraud and collusion, as well as in the private sector, with the same purpose and intensity that we want to fight it in the public sector. We must remember that every time someone receives a bribe, there is someone who is prepared to pay it. We will make sure that we deal with both of them in a very effective manner.
Well, corruption is the buzzword in South Africa right now as 4 different commissions of inquiry slowly peel back the layers of rot that have engulfed not only our government but our business leaders as well. New offenders who have committed acts of corruption in both the public and private sectors are revealed to us almost daily. Businessman and community leader Peter Vundla has suggested in a City Press column that instead of subjecting ourselves to the emotional trauma and financial costs of multiple inquiries, South Africa should develop a TRC process to address the scourge of corruption, and he's with me in the studio to discuss his ideas around this TRC, which he expressed in an open letter published in the City Press, as I've said, addressed to the head of the NPA, Advocate Shamina Batowe. Peter, pleasure to catch up with you.
Thank you.
And explore your ideas on this question of the TRC. People will say, why TRC? Charge those implicated in corruption.
Yeah, Tim, I think I need to explain the concept of the TRC. It will not be a formal sitting such as we had with Desmond Tutu. I think we need to look at the TRC idea as a conceptual framework within which people come of their own volition before Advocate Batowe and say, I have committed this corruption. It is a platform within the NPA and not outside of the NPA, because only the president can call for a commission. So we need to look at the TRC concept in terms of people opening up to their sins, and there's forgiveness and understanding of how and why they committed the corruption. So it's not a separate entity altogether. It's a platform within the NPA. That must be clearly explained.
Which I appreciate. But
Indeed.
then, if that is the case, according to the South African criminal justice system, there's the so-called plea bargaining, right? That if it's available, why are people not coming forward?
That is
exactly that.
Exactly. That is the second part of my column, that plea bargaining has been used in this country to find and mete out justice. And I think we need to tap on that as well. And you understand where I'm coming from. My article is all about managing corruption. Now, we have heard through 4 commissions, as you indicated in the opener, about alleged corruption in parastatals, in government departments, and we've just dealt with 1 government department so far, correctional services. There are yet 30 other departments to go through, I would hope. Not that many. There's SOEs. On Monday we have Danielle coming in. We've just finished ESCOM. Then there will be PRASA and so on. And then just today, the forensic report came out on Steinhoff. And there's just too many of these cases at various levels of society. And I am saying we cannot afford to go through this whole trials. I think...
I get the point. But, let's look at the mechanics of the TRC process, as you suggested. Because, one looks at the plea bargaining and say, why is that not used? And it is available, and people are not using it. The Deputy Chief Justice Zondo has repeatedly appealed to people to come forward and assist the inquiry with his work. Very few people seem to be coming forward. So what structure, what form should this TRC process take, you think?
Well, it would be a carrot approach where the NPA would call upon people to come forward. If they do not, then they will be rigorously prosecuted in terms of, and they will go before a judge who will mete out the kind of sentence where they will say, you are going to return all of those assets, all those ill-begotten assets you took from the people. Secondly, you will not hold public office ever again. And then thirdly, you're going to do correctional services or national service outside of prison. So, that's part of plea bargaining. And I think if that offer was made publicly, because this must be done publicly, not, in a kind of a background where there's no public scrutiny. It should be an open process. The idea here is to get rid of all these trials. It's just too many trials to go through.
I understand. I know.
And I don't even know if the NPA has the capacity and maybe even the skills or the manpower. There's so many trials to go through. It's just incredible.
But in terms of the cases of the Special Investigations Unit, there was
that's something else that doesn't even have a budget.
Yeah, but there's a special tribunal that has been established. The president has nominated about 8 or 10 judges, I think, who will be looking at specifically the SIU matters. I'm not sure when the work of that is going to start. But because you are making this a public appeal of sorts to the NPA chief, try and send it to the public in South Africa, and that's why I called you here.
Indeed, that's why I'm here as well.
Yeah, and then
I'm trying to open up a debate.
Okay, we hear you, but what happens to the money that has disappeared due to corruption? And the scale of corruption is massive now, and it wasn't the case before. You did not even mention at provincial level and municipal level. I mean, these commissions will never be able to.
Even in journalism, I mentioned.
Yeah, well, across the board, in all areas of life. Yeah, so I mean, what would the public benefit be if your idea was embraced and adopted?
Well, it would, firstly, I talk about national catharsis, that we need a cleansing. We need, we were totally traumatized, mesmerized by all of the things we hear. And so the nation, I think, will be spared of this trauma. I think there's a cost savings to it. I think we will understand corruption better, the language they use, what motivated them. They need to come out and tell us all of these things, the language in terms of going beyond I want cold drink, or what's in it for me. There's a particular language, I believe, to this thing. And we need to understand, because like I indicated earlier, the idea of this is to manage corruption, because it will never totally eradicate corruption as no society has done that,
in preparation for this interview, I thought about other things that have been going on in the country which were meant to minimize corruption and enhance performance of particularly the state, the state institutions. And a department was even established called Performance Monitoring and Evaluation, a department which sits in the presidency.
Within the presidency, yes.
So we hear of all these problems happening. From your point of view, your mind, what do you think the Department of Performance Monitoring and Evaluation was all about? What do you think? It's like
I think it's a question more of a style and substance. It was just a PR job, and I think it's the most ineffective government department, if you must ask me. Totally useless. We don't know what they've monitored, what they've evaluated. It's all poppycock, really.
Is it not interesting that the question has not been asked about what is the role of the Department of Performance?
Well, I think the various opposition parties have, but as it happens, we just go along in this country, We just go along.
Now, on top of that, according to the laws of the country, corruption is defined. The president has summarized that definition. Everybody will know it when they see it. Right?
Indeed, yeah.
And then we've got the institutions of state and the capacity of the state to deal with criminality. You've got the police, you've got crime intelligence, you've got the Hawks, the NPA, and of course the judicial process. So you can have the TRC, but what does that say about the fact that the institutions or the agencies that are tasked with the job of dealing with criminality did not do their job? How do you correct that?
Yeah, unfortunately, all of those institutions or agencies you mentioned have been corrupted as well. I think they've lost a lot of credibility. And so we need a robust NPA, a new beginning, and I think we can tap into some of those agencies' intelligences, what they have picked up, the SIU or the Hawks, whatever. But to rely on them totally, I think it would be unwise.
It's a massive job overall. And Dintwe is joining us from Tabanchu. Dintwe, welcome.
Good evening, Brachi.
Yes, sir.
Well, see, when I read that article on the City Press, on my comment on the Facebook, I said I fully support the corruption TRC. As you have already mentioned that, and your guest has mentioned that, if you see the national department, the provincial departments, and the local government municipalities, for the state to go into those departments and municipalities to dig out corruption is going to take us many, many, many years. So the idea of corruption TRC, I fully support it. The honest people that they feel that the corruption that they have done is burning them, they will come out and confess that what they have done. I fully support that the corruption TRC.
So, Dintwe from Tabanchu has seconded on this point. So you've got a vote. Now, one of the points you highlight in the column, you say that the fight back from some involved in massive corruption will tear our country asunder. Tell me more, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, that's another reason I think we should fast-track these trials. I think the people who have allegedly been involved in corruption, many are powerful people, and they will not want their day in court. So they're going to fight almost to the death, before going before a judge or a magistrate, or even before any other agency. So, and they'll want to retain all of those ill-begotten assets they got. So they will not go like ship to the slaughter. So they will fight back. And I think we're already beginning to see that coming through, in a small kind of way, but I think this will kind of increase.
There's the point of amnesty. At what point do you grant amnesty then to, who do you grant amnesty to and who do you deny this amnesty to?
That is I think the word amnesty is totally wrong. This is not amnesty the way I understand it, and I'm not a lawyer. Nobody will give an amnesty. They will appear before a judge, all of them who do come forward. And it is the judge who will mete out the sentence. So nobody will grant amnesty. You're going to take your ill-begotten assets, we are going to do correctional service or national service, and you are not going to hold public office ever, and you'll be shamed in public. The point being, if you come forward, you will not go to jail.
Okay,
that's what we promise you.
Okay.
You will not. But if you don't appear, and we will rigorously prosecute you, and you will serve that minimum sentence of 15 years. And we will take back all of your assets.
Yeah.
Those ill-begotten assets.
Let's see.
There we go.
Got another vote in support or opposition to your view. Tabiso Centurion.
Hello, Bratim.
Yes, sir. Welcome.
Yes. My comment is that we've had quite a lot of commissions and investigations. What seems to be lacking is the political will to follow through on all these processes. So I really do not understand what the TRC on corruption is going to achieve, which the commissions could not achieve. You get my point?
Okay, thanks very much. Well, you can expand on that. He wonders, the evidence is there, the information is there, and this is a generally held view, I would like to believe, people wondering, why are there no prosecutions taking place? If there are no prosecutions now, how will the TRC achieve that prosecution?
Well, we must still get the reports from the way I understand it, and I've indicated that I'm a lay person when it comes to such issues, but we must still get the reports from Zondo. I think we have reports from various other commissions, and I don't know if it's the SIU or the Hawks who are to take these. I think the evidence is there, and I think we've got I would hope we have a new beginning in the NPA, which is why I wrote that letter to the advocate, Baktoyi. So I think we have a beginning now, and we know we have a history, as evidenced in the Jiwa Mkhwebi Commission, of prosecutions not just happening. I think there's a history, but I think hopefully we have a new beginning in Advocate Baktoyi.
All right, and have you heard from anyone in authority, from government, responding to you?
No, I'm not expecting that, but it's quite interesting that I read an article that Popo Molefe at Transnet is wanting to appoint a retired bishop for Transnet miscreants to come forward before this retired. I think it's a watered-down version of my suggestion.
It reminds
totally
me
watered
of
down.
the efforts of Bishop Mpumlwana earlier, who spoke about the unburdening process as well, trying to assist, which was very difficult for him then.
Yeah. I'm not sure if the divine is the way to go.
Anyway, but thank you very much for coming around and sharing your thoughts with us.
Thanks for having me, Tim, as they say.
And that's Peter Vundla, who is calling for a corruption TRC in South Africa. Musician Danny Kaye sparked a national debate on race relations in post-apartheid South Africa. He'll be joining me next to discuss the role he believes white South Africans should play to end the racism. And Chris Chameleon disagrees to some extent with him, and he will be sharing with us why.